Good evening. It's the beginning of week 5, even though it's Tuesday, and I apologize for not getting this up a little earlier. It was a long day of traveling yesterday. Just came back to Connecticut from Denver, and had a delightful time with my family out there. My new granddaughter. That was the driving force for going. Couldn't resist getting that in. Welcome to this week where it's all about teams. And teams are a seemingly simple thing, and we all participate in teams, like it or not, sometimes involuntarily, sometimes very informally, sometimes very formally. But teams are an interesting phenomenon, and they're a fact of life in organizational behavior and in organizations as a whole. And I think the material this week is pretty straightforward. It looks, as usual, a little voluminous, and we have quite a bit there. But when you really look at it, it's pretty simple. And you may have seen some of this before, where it talks about some of the drives that people have to be part of teams and what to expect when you're in a team. And it talks about verbal and nonverbal communication, how that affects your performance in a team and the performance of the team. And it also talks about, I think, a model that many of you may have seen before, the stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, performing, and then finally dissolution. So I think, again, pretty straightforward, pretty usual material for this subject matter, although it looks like a lot. But, one thing I did want to comment on is the whole idea that why are teams so tough? Why is it so tough to deal with if we have to deal with it all the time? And it was very interesting that just a few minutes ago I read an op-ed piece in the New York Times by a writer, columnist whose work I tend to enjoy very much, a gentleman by the name of David Brooks. And Mr. Brooks is talking in his op-ed piece about this time of year when we're in the academic world, we're sending all our graduates out into the world, and his commentary is that, this is one of the most supervised, structured, guided generations ever, and now we're throwing them out into a world where they're not going to have much guidance, and they're going to have to do things on their own. And to be very honest with you, I often look back at my on-campus students and say, wow, I didn't have questions about doing this, that, or other thing. I just did them. And these guys seem to want to be guided through everything. And now we're throwing them to a world that's not going to do that. And another aspect of that is we're going to be asking them to, in many cases, become part of a team. Yet all the commencement speeches that you hear going on at this time of year, we're telling people to go forth and follow your dream, your passion, find what excites you, and do that. It's all about you. It's all about what you can do, what you want to do, how you feel. And when we get there into this real world, we suddenly find out it's not about me. It's about the group. It's about the organization. It's about the group that's going to accomplish a certain goal. And it's very ironic that some of the greatest accomplishments that we will ever be a part of, all of us, will be as part of a team, whether that's in business, within our families, within our social life, whatever it be. Yet we're probably one of the most highly individualistic societies ever. It's just mind-boggling how much we preach the cult of the individual, and we promote the individual, and we praise the individual, and yet we come along now and wonder why teams are so tough for us as Americans. Pretty interesting phenomenon. I think it's something that you ought to consider as you look through the body of this week's work. You talk about, say, finding your passion. Awful tough to find your passion, as Mr. Brooks says, when you're 23 years old. You don't even know what life is about. I think I found mine in teaching and in being in the academic world. Took me 35 years to find that. It didn't happen overnight. I didn't come out of college and say, wow, I'm going to become Professor Abbott. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to conform to what was expected of me. Well, you know what? A lot of my life has been in teams, and teams are tough. I tend to be an individualist. I would rather work on my own. There's so many things I would do that I think better than if I didn't have things hold me back. Yet at the same time, I said, boy, if I only had the support of a group, I could do things better. Very, very interesting that things like should go on that way. I have a little expression that I've used a couple of times saying, none of us, what is it, about meetings and teams, you know, all of us together are, what, smarter than one of us? Well, it's something about, you know, none of us alone is as dumb as all of us together. That's, sometimes you feel that way when the team is frustrating you. But when the team really works, when it's humming along and accomplishing what it needs to do, well, that's what we're all about. And that's what I think this unit is about, is learning what teams are, how they function, how we can recognize the behaviors, how we can manage the behaviors, and how we can direct ourselves through the behaviors and see how things can be made better. So that's the essence of this week. Sorry it took me until Tuesday afternoon to get there, but I hope it helps you as you go through the week's work. And again, I'll be looking through at your discussion boards, at the exams. Papers are coming in this week. So this weekend, I'm sure I'll have a lot of interesting reading. And again, if you have any questions about anything, please get to me. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you later this week. Bye.